video is gonna get taken out of context, and I know that at this point I can't really stop people from doing that because that's what my whole existence on the internet is just me being taken out of context and stuff.
No press release, no public apology, just silence. One moment, Rachel Zegler was the face of a major stage revival. The next, she vanished without a trace. What began as a dream role turned into a theatrical disaster, and now the entire internet is piecing together the wreckage. From diva rumors to cast mutiny, the downfall wasn't subtle. It was explosive.
Zegler has been labeled a PR nightmare, and we can see why. The Walt Disney Company seems to be trying to keep her totally hidden, as we haven't seen any interviews regarding Snow White since the controversies surfaced. Of course, people now are just waiting for her next slip-up. What other outrageous thing will she say? But I have a suspicion that Zegler is getting some serious brainwashing media training, so she can keep saying the same things.
Audiences who once praised her voice are now echoing a different tune. She's got to go. But how did the once promising starlet become public enemy #1 on her own stage? Insiders claim it was chaos from the start. Tantrums, creative clashes, and walkouts that sent shockwaves through rehearsals. And while Rachel's fanbase scrambled to defend her, her castmates were busy drafting a rebellion. This wasn't just a backstage feud. It was a full-blown collapse. But here's the kicker. The producers didn't see it coming, and when they did, it was too late. But the backlash was just beginning. Rachel Zegler wasn't just another actress. She was the rising star, plucked from internet obscurity and launched into the spotlight as Disney's new Snow White. She had the kind of momentum most performers can only dream of. So when she was cast as Eva Perón in a bold Evita revival, many believed it was her career-defining moment, a transition from screen darling to Broadway royalty. The announcement set social media on fire.
When she's starring in it and she's the main character. Go ahead, Rob, play the clip.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
She's a good actress.
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Wow. The ego on this girl is ridiculous.
Wow.
Critics called her casting refreshing. Theater blogs praised her vocals. Even the producers rolled out the red carpet, hyping her as a modern rebirth of a legend. Rachel leaned in, tweeting dramatic lyrics, posting cryptic rehearsal selfies, and insisting she was born for the role. But behind the curtain, something was already unraveling. Whispers started. She was late to rehearsals, clashing with vocal coaches, rewriting choreography mid-session. One insider claimed she told the team, Evita should feel like a revolution, not a musical. At first, people laughed it off as passion. But passion without discipline? That's a different story. What happened next would rattle the entire production. At first, it was eye rolls and awkward silences.
What is it like for you now, having all of this? I think it's a lot of pressure, right?
It's definitely a lot of pressure, but I surround myself with very good people who keep me grounded and try to just stay as true to myself as I possibly can.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Rachel, you got time to find some autographs for us, Rachel? Rachel, please. Rachel, you got time to find some, Rachel? Maybe on the way out?
Then came the storm. Cast and crew began describing Rachel's energy as draining, her presence as commanding in all the wrong ways. What had started as a high-profile casting slowly spiraled into backstage dread. She allegedly dismissed direction, openly challenged the choreographer, and once walked out of a vocal session mid-note shouting, "You can't tell me how to play Eva. I am Eva." The production was no longer about a role. It was about control. Her co-stars, many of whom had years of theater experience, began referring to her behind closed doors as Hurricane Zegler. Every rehearsal brought new outbursts, new demands, and more tension. One assistant choreographer called her the most exhausting performer I've ever worked with. Even wardrobe wasn't safe. Rachel reportedly had her costume redesigned 5 separate times to reflect what she called Eva's feminist arc. The worst part? Everyone was walking on eggshells. One wrong note, one correction, and you could find yourself publicly humiliated. And the cast was just about to reach its breaking point. By week 3, The tension backstage had turned unbearable.
And then, because, I mean, you seem to be dominating the world of musicals, you're doing Evita in London, right?
Big Andrew Lloyd Webber fan right over there.
Was that your dad whistling?
Yeah. You guys see Stanley Tucci back there?
That'll be fun, huh?
It's gonna be the best time. It's my West End debut. I'm so excited.
You've done a lot of Broadway.
Yeah, well, yeah, I did Shakespeare for 20 weeks. I'm coming off of that right now.
20 weeks of Shakespeare.
It's a lot.
What started as quiet complaints evolved into a coordinated response. Cast members began documenting everything, not just mentally, but in writing. Every tantrum, every refusal to take direction, every time Rachel hijacked a rehearsal was logged. Some even started secretly recording snippets of rehearsals, just in case, according to one source. The boiling point came during a staging of A New Argentina. Frustrated by a change in blocking, Rachel allegedly flung her hands in the air mid-song and shouted, "I'm not doing this circus anymore," before storming off stage. Silence filled the room until one exhausted ensemble member muttered what everyone else was thinking. "She's gotta go." That's when things changed. A coalition of cast members, including leads, ensemble, and even a vocal coach, decided they weren't going to just vent anymore. They were going to act. And they didn't go to gossip blogs or Twitter. They went straight to the top, demanding that something be done. And what they did next flipped the entire production upside down. The rebellion wasn't loud. It was calculated. When initial meetings with the director were brushed off, the cast went higher. According to insiders, a written complaint was drafted and signed by nearly half the team. It wasn't vague. It named dates, detailed specific outbursts, and even included quotes. One line reportedly read, "Rehearsals have become unsafe, unproductive, and entirely centered around one person's emotional volatility." The producers didn't expect it. In an emergency meeting packed with tension, cast reps calmly laid down the ultimatum: "We will not share the stage with Rachel Zegler." Producers, shocked, asked, "You're asking us to fire our lead?" The response? "No. We're telling you we're done if you don't." The room went cold. Suddenly, it wasn't about Rachel's name value or her Hollywood buzz. It was about whether the show could survive her presence. The cast had drawn a line in the sand, and the producers were officially trapped between a lead actress spiraling and an ensemble ready to walk. And what came next sent the production into full-blown crisis mode. What followed was a whirlwind of behind-the-scenes chaos disguised as schedule restructuring. But anyone paying attention knew the truth. The cast had taken control, and Rachel Zegler was being quietly phased out. She stopped showing up. Rehearsals continued without her. Stand-ins stepped in. Songs were reassigned. Entire scenes reworked. It was clear. Whether officially fired or just benched, Rachel was out of the picture. Even the energy backstage shifted. One crew member described it as finally being able to breathe again. The cast no longer felt on edge, and for the first time, progress resumed without drama. Morale skyrocketed. And while producers tried to play defense, insiders claim a new name began circulating. A talented understudy who had been quietly learning the role in the background. She stepped in with ease, hit every note, followed direction, and most importantly, didn't treat every rehearsal like a battlefield. The contrast was stark, and producers took notice. The show wasn't just surviving without Rachel, it was thriving, but the outside world was just starting to notice her disappearance. Rachel's sudden silence didn't go unnoticed. One day, she was flooding social media with cryptic quotes and dramatic rehearsal selfies. The next, nothing. No posts, no stories, no red carpet photos. Just radio silence. And in today's digital age, that's all it took for the internet to explode. TikTok gossip accounts were first to pounce. Rumors that Rachel had been booted from Evita began circulating fast. One viral video with over 2 million views claimed, "Rachel Zegler officially benched after cast revolt." The comments? Brutal. "I'd pay double to see the understudy. You can't girlboss Eva Perón." Twitter, or X, wasn't far behind. Hashtags like #Zegler and #JusticeForEvita started trending. Fan pages that once praised her began posting memes comparing her to the rumored new lead. And, let's just say, the internet wasn't kind. Clips from old interviews resurfaced. Tweets where she shaded other actresses were reposted with sarcastic commentary. Even the official Evita account went dark, switching to generic promo posts. Something was clearly up, and fans were connecting the dots. But what came next didn't just confirm the rumors, it blew them wide open. There was no formal announcement, no farewell post, no backstage group pic with a cryptic "on to new things" caption. Just a slow, quiet erasure. Rachel Zegler had vanished from the production, and the silence spoke volumes. Insiders claim she hasn't been seen at rehearsals in over 2 weeks. Her name? Removed from internal cast lists. Her dressing room? Cleared. And perhaps most telling, the official program for Evita was quietly updated, replacing her name with someone new. Yet despite all this, no one from the production would confirm a thing. No statements. No damage control. Just a strange, collective decision to move on without her. And backstage? The mood was almost celebratory. With the new lead in place, the cast felt like a true ensemble again. No more eggshells. No more ego battles. The directors could actually direct. The crew could finally focus. And slowly, it became clear. This wasn't a temporary pause. Rachel wasn't taking a break. She'd been removed. Not by scandal, but by consensus. A silent exit, sealed by the absence of chaos. But behind that silence, something else was rising. Someone else. While Rachel faded into silence, someone else was stepping into the spotlight. Literally. The understudy, whose name is still being kept under wraps by official channels, wasn't just filling in. She was commanding the role. According to insiders, she came to rehearsals fully prepared, hit every vocal note with precision, and, most importantly, brought none of the baggage. Disciplined, humble, and a dream to work with. That's how cast and crew described her. The backstage energy flipped overnight. Morale surged. For the first time in weeks, rehearsals didn't feel like war zones. The director, once buried in crisis management, finally got to focus on crafting the show. And the cast? They were finally unified. Online whispers turned to full support. Theater forums and gossip pages began praising the replacement. Fans who had seen preview clips called her everything Rachel wanted to be, but wasn't. And behind the scenes, even producers reportedly admitted the obvious. The new Evita was smoother, sharper, and far more sustainable. The revival was finally back on track. But as the new star rose, Rachel's silence only grew louder. With the understudy now thriving, Rachel's silence became deafening. No comeback tweets. No damage control interviews. No cryptic "stay tuned" messages. Just nothing. And in the world of entertainment, that's rarely a good sign. Industry watchers noted the absence. Casting directors whispered. Even her loyal fanbase began to go quiet. Rachel wasn't just out of Evita. She was off the radar entirely. No new projects announced. No public appearances. Even her team, once quick to defend her online, had gone completely dark. The woman once hailed as a voice of a generation had become Hollywood's biggest question mark. Was she taking a break? Had she been blacklisted? Or was this just the calm before a failed rebrand? Whatever the case, one thing was clear. The theater world had moved on. Fast. And in this industry, absence isn't mysterious. It's a warning. Because the longer she stays silent, the more control she loses over the narrative. And soon, the only story being told will be the one written by everyone else. But we're not done yet, because the final curtain hasn't just dropped. It's slammed shut. Rachel Zegler wasn't just cast in Evita. She was handed a golden opportunity, a chance to shed the Disney glitter, silence critics, and prove she could lead a legacy role on her own merit. But instead of rising to the occasion, she imploded under the spotlight. Behind the red carpets and press junkets was a pattern: control, chaos, and a refusal to play as part of a team. She didn't just get replaced, she got rejected. Not by trolls online, but by the very people rooting for the show's success. The cast, the crew, the directors. They didn't stage a takedown. They reached a breaking point. Theater isn't like Hollywood. You can't charm your way out of backstage drama. You can't storm off set, rewrite scenes mid-song, or alienate your peers and expect a standing ovation. In this world, the show must go on. And if you're the reason it can't, you're the first one cut. Rachel had the spotlight. She had the talent. But she forgot the one rule every performer learns early: No one is bigger than the production. And now, she's learning that the hard way.